This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures, and then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in. So let's waste no time, folks. Ooh-wee. Let's get to it. Story number 1, $4.4 million for capital projects. In Ohio, Mahoning County will receive $4,465,000, and Trumbull County will get $2,013,000, according to a local Vindicator article making headlines Wednesday, June 1st. This is in a $3.5 billion bill introduced last Tuesday. Now, this is $600 million will be set aside for school building projects, $100 million for school safety upgrades, $400 million for higher education projects, $500 million for recreation and parks, and $403 million to upgrade correctional facilities. So this is all money set aside. Story number 2, injection wells back in the headlines. The stories that made major news during the Obama administration some time ago, some years back, that was almost 11 years or so ago, about injection wells causing local earthquakes. Again, this story is back in some headlines. It made major headlines back then, but now it's back in major headlines. A company out of Howland that owns 2 injection wells along State Route 169 in Weathersfield Township made front page news on June 5th. In the Vindicator. The debate now is not much different from before, and it is basically how big does an earthquake have to be to shut down a drilling operation? That's the debate, and that's what the article was mainly about. Very big article. This story also revived a local environmentalist debate, and with the story back in the headlines, and a country desperate to compete in the global price war on oil and natural gas, this is sparking the sparks in the drilling arena are flaring up again. Story number 3. With cases back on the decline, many wonder if we overreacted to COVID-19. After 8 straight weeks of increases on June 3rd, new reports say that cases dropped 5.5%. Now new talk about overreaction is making headlines. As Ohio continues to battle through the storm, many wonder if we overreacted to stop the spread of COVID-19. Overall, COVID-19 has changed things locally. The virus has fueled heated debates about economic solutions while also causing growing concerns about accountability. In this developing story, there seems to be no easy fix for the COVID-19 roller coaster, but new stories are making headlines every day. Story number 4, servicing the local servicers. Public service. More proposals are being made to assist those servicing the local area. Here's one of them. House Bill 206 is just one one of a handful of bills being passed or presented to help servicing the servicers. The bill would allow township police to assist local highway patrols by allowing them to permit. They will be able to go. It will permit township police with at least 5,000 residents to make arrests, enforce laws, and issue traffic citations. So this is giving township police the authority of the highway patrol, the ability to bond with them, to help them out. Boardman Police Chief Todd Worth is for the bill, and a lot of people are for this bill, saying that any bill that gives police more flexibility to serve and protect is a good call. Story number 5. How do you deal with local people who seem to want to break the law? More unsettledness is brewing in the YPD crime force, and local people are talking. So more unsettledness is going on. The question that has been on the minds of local people since the 80s is, how do you stop crime? The city has seen political leader after political leader come and go in an attempt to solve the crime issues in the city, but for some reason, certain individuals seem to want to break the law. The sad part about recent news is that the news is not new. Youngstown has had a long history of violent crimes. Residents are now reporting on how police even patrol crime scenes with very little effectiveness. Some are even sparking up about investigations that have never been solved, and in some situations, no justice being served. As City Council calls for more money to be thrown at the crime problems, people are starting to see a trend here, and that is, how do you stop people who seem to want to break the law? And that's why story number 5 made this week, because crime is still in top stories. Big headline. Story number 6. To fill local jobs or not to fill local jobs. The job market seems to be heating up, but there is still some confusion in the job numbers. The big discussion now seems to be about wages and all the job performances. How are you doing on your job? What's brewing in this story is the ripple effect of COVID-19 and how it has literally changed the business climate. The problems have not changed. Kids graduate from high school and college and have a hard time finding a job, and many have to relocate only to find themselves back at home later. Now, this seems to be the constant reality surrounding the job market. Many wonder how to keep a consistent job market, but some feel that the days of higher pay and being paid big money on the job are over. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news story that made it this week. And if I ever find a story for you, I will be sure that the story is real good. My story, maybe next time it'll be my story. Story number 7. To die young locally has no justification, folks. That's what story number 7 made it this week. Now, how do local parents keep their children out of danger? After a 16-year-old was killed on the city's south side, the story opens up more and more questions about today's culture. Children are dying, and it's getting the attention of parents as if it hasn't before. The incidents are ruthless, folks. A kid dies, and there's no suspect. Now, this is becoming an all too common thing now when it comes to the crime stories hitting mainstream news, especially locally. City leaders are searching for answers, but to die young locally is gaining the attention of a lot of local people searching for solutions. The floodgates against youth violence could bring about radical solutions. Story number 8 at the top. Local headline and developing news story that made it this week. I'm going to get up, give you a story. That's what I decided to do this morning. I'm going to get up and give you a story, the top story. So let's get to it. Ooh, yeah. We've come all this way. Now it's time to get to the top story, local story for you. Story number 8. Here it goes. Locals are preparing for the worst and making adjustments. Local people. Why are they doing this? Now, the average discussion just isn't the same anymore, folks. There is bitterness mixed with submission in the air. People have just given up on any complaints, and they're just trying to get the job done because they're tired and they're forcing themselves to stay motivated. The fact is that people are literally going in circles trying to stay afloat, folks. A lot of people who were treading water have either gone under or are hanging on to others to keep from drowning. Some of you moved in with their parents. Either way you look at the story, people are preparing for the worst, folks, but some people are trying to remain optimistic. This story, when you look at it from either angle, the story, there are two major stories that could change the course of the local future that you have to keep an eye on. Here they are. Lordstown's continued business investments could improve the local job market. That's one story. There's another one. The new attention surrounding the drug market and illegal drug abuse could make major changes to how people get access to prescription drugs. This, according to a drug bill sponsored by Al Catrona, which will require prescriptions for Schedule II drugs to be filled electronically to cut down on prescription drug abuse, stopping drug abuse, stopping crime, creating jobs, and improving the education system seems to be the main focus locally. And that's why story number 8 made it to the top this week, because everybody is trying to stay afloat, and when you fall behind, you got to catch up. So that's why story number 8 is such a big headline this week, because these are the things that are taking place because people have drug problems and they're trying to get back to work. And on top of that, Lordstown is making big business moves to bring more jobs to the area, folks, while other cities are trying to do the same thing as well. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines, so don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I did not know how important Father's Day was. I didn't even know how bad the father's situations had gotten. I was out shopping one time and came across this girl, and she kept looking at me. I thought she might have wanted to talk to me or chat, and she looked at me and she said, "Where's my child support?" So she was looking for her. The situation was pretty scary, you know. I didn't know this is how things had evolved. I mean, everybody's got the idea, but I didn't know it was this bad. She was looking for her baby's father. She thought I was the father. You know, I was shopping around the store and I hiding, and I didn't know what was going on. She had a whole posse ready to take me out. And that's how bad this the situation has gotten. So I'm just grateful to be raised by a lot of uncles and stepdad, because I guess it's real bad out there for a lot of single parents, a lot of women who have been taking care of their children. I did not know it had gotten that bad. So I guess it's Father's Day. You got to be thankful if your father's around, if your father's being involved with you, if your father's helping you out. But I did not know that the father situation was that bad in this country until I went out one day. I don't go out much, but I went out to the market to grab something, and this girl actually thought I was her baby's father. She's ready to take me out. And that's when my eyes were open to how sad this father thing has got. And it's a lot of situations are different. Some people have cheated, some people have done things, but there's a lot of single parents out there looking for their baby's daddy. It is very bad. So this Father's Day, the message I have for all the fathers out there who have kept the ball rolling, to all my uncles who have been in my life, my stepdad, and the people who have kept me churning, my Uncle Frank. And I just want to thank you and thank the people who are trying, because I didn't know it was that bad. You know, I even made a song about it. If Dad is not around, find a clown and laugh, but don't fall down. There's a father somewhere. There's a father somewhere. Whew! Woo-wee! Glad I got years. The daddies out there, be thankful. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Fathers out there somewhere. They're not all missing in action. There's some out there doing their thing and staying around. Story number 1. Time to assess the unemployment system. A lot of unemployed fathers. If you received a notice in the mail that you filed for unemployment and you didn't file a claim, there is a chance that someone filed a false claim with your information. This is a real story. This seems to be the case for a lot of people. Reports about people receiving letters from other states and even their own state claiming that they filed for unemployment have hit mainstream news stories because a lot of people receiving these notices did not file for unemployment. Now, before this story gets too out of hand, if it hasn't already, now may be a good time to assess the unemployment system. That's why story number 1 made in this week. Story number 2. There's a father somewhere. Story number 2. We're becoming desperate to tackle inflation. Gas prices are over $5, folks, in many areas, and prices continue to go up. Inflation is not only a hot topic, but it's real, and people are becoming desperate. The growing concern now is, how did this happen, and did printing money cause this? Now, there are so many theories out there, but still not too many solid answers on how to fix the inflation woes. Either way, this will be a stain on Biden's watch because high prices affect everyone, folks. The inflation battle is so ugly that when election season comes around the corner, some Democrats could be out of a job. One CNBC headline reads that more wealthy Americans are living paycheck to paycheck in the inflation surge. This story is still developing. Big headline. Story number 3. How fossil fuels got tangled in the climate web. Fuel prices are up, folks. That's a fact, and many believe that they're up because of the attack on fossil fuels and the push for a greener future. This is some of the talk that's floating around. This is yet another theoretical story causing conversations because if the price of gas continues to go up, people will use less gas. Correct, right? That's supposed to be what their aim is. Now, another debate brewing is about climate change and how radical the attack on fossil fuels have become. No matter how this story develops, this is an ugly war that a lot of people are buying into because people have to travel. This story could be the keystone to dissecting the energy war, and fossil fuels are the main concern because we need them to maintain a higher standard of living. One headline in The Guardian says that carbon dioxide levels are now 50% higher than during the pre-industrial era. That's why story number 3 made it in this week. Story number 4. Teachers, college, and education. Arming teachers, college debt. These are all education stories. One headline by Axios says that America is pushing teachers to the brink. The biggest factor in this story is how hard the job of teaching has become. Many in the profession are underpaid, and many teachers have created the world of professionals that we see today. You had to learn something from somewhere. The education woes are so big that teachers have been asked to sacrifice their own well-being to make sure that their students can meet the grades. Some teachers have even had to save some of their students' life. How big of a job is that? This story got even deeper after a mass shooter sparked another debate about arming educators. There was once upon a time where teachers were actually even beaten up in school, some beaten to death. This is bad news. Maintaining a level academic climate remains a Central American issue, but the biggest concern has a lot to do with American priorities and culture. One Bloomberg article puts more pressure on teachers' unions. This story is still developing, and that's why it made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'm right back, the Mediator. If you want to check out the stories that are almost made it in or did make it in. Go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. Go to the website. It's method.inc.com. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, June 19th is coming up too. So Father's Day, I believe. And black folks, my people, my own race, folks just don't want to talk about it no more. A lot of people are getting very, very tired. And it's just real sad out here, you know. You want to talk about the problems of slavery and about freedom. No. I just want to do business. Pay me. That's what they want to talk about. And that's how it's got. So this June 19th, I'll probably celebrate quietly because a lot of people are scarred and they don't want to talk about it anymore. People come into my store all the time with blah, 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 blah. No. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody want to talk about it. People are going crazy. And that's why this June 19th, I think it might be best to just look at the history, look at the books, read, find out how they got it solved and how it happened. But don't bring it up too much no more because people are very angry about this stuff. I mean, people are going, they don't know which party to choose, who to vote for. They don't know which candidate are going to help out inner city African-American minority community. This is some serious talk. And that's why I was thinking this week about June 19th. A lot of people don't even know what that day means. But it's in the news and it's alive. But some people just don't even know. That's how bad it is out here. They don't know. Don't know their history, nothing. Whew. I got one song for you. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. I got another one too. Hold on. This is a good one. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Whew. Those are all songs made for the time, but nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. These are all songs created for the June 19th extravaganza, but right now, not too many people want to talk about it because it's creating too much conflict, too much friction, too much craziness. Let's get to the top 4, folks. Ooh-wee. Brief history lesson. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Shout out to Frederick Douglass. Shout out to the North Star newspaper. All right. How high can gas prices get before people start walking? Talk about buses, all that stuff. Walking, riding a bike, and taking the bus. Good old Rosa Parks. That's another African-American story. These are all of the minor things that people are doing to deal with the high gas prices. Just to give you a picture of how quickly this happened, Americans are now paying nearly $2 more than we were a year ago, and now that we're in hurricane season, more concern is brewing. Some people are even turning to alternative gas with more ethanol. This story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made in this week. Story number 6. The job market continues to heat up, folks. Market Watch says that the U.S. added 390,000 jobs in May. At the moment, economists say that this is only the people returning for that left before the pandemic. So they're saying these are the people who left the job market. Some key stats in this story are how hourly wages raised by 10%. So hourly wages have raised. These are some key stats. But with inflation, that 0.3% raise is nothing, folks. So even with the increase in hiring and wage growth, inflation is killing any form of improvement. The new goal now is attacking inflation. And as the COVID-19 battle fades, as the COVID-19 phase to the bottom of the to-do list. Ooh, I got to get it right. Voters will be looking to the candidate focused on improving the economy. So as all that stuff, other stuff falls to the bottom of the to-do list, the voters will be looking for the candidate who will be focused on improving their economic situation. This story is still developing. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Whew, almost there, folks. Whew, this job is big, but somebody's got to do it. I'm going to do it for you. Keep you informed. The trade market is back in the headlines, folks. Reuters has a good story about the U.S. trade deficit. The article goes in depth explaining how exports have helped shrink the U.S. trade deficit. The article also says that this could contribute to economic growth this quarter because the trade deficit dropped 19.1%, which is the largest decline since December of 2012. Now analysts will be focused on the policies that have had the biggest impact on trade, and if this has anything to do with the last administration in office. So if the Trump administration had anything to do with this and his supporters, this is because the Trump administration and their supporters were heavily active on U.S. trade policies. That's why story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. So once again, Trump's policies are at the center of attention in story number 7. Big headline. Story number 8 at the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. You got to show them that you're really not scared. Don't they hear with your life? This ain't no truth in there. You gotta find a story that's right. Just do it. Just do it. Story number 8, top story this week, international. How do you deal with millions of guns? You got to show them that you're really not scared. You're playing with your life. This ain't no truth in there. In 2022, folks, legislators are faced with more questions about guns. The focus now seems to fall in the hands of problem solvers, and how do you stop people from turning to guns to solve their problems? So story number 8, how do you deal with millions of guns? Big headline. There are so many guns. There are millions of guns on the street, folks. Now, with millions more on the market, and how kids are getting access to guns seems scary. This is what story number 8 is all about. I'll say it again. How do you deal with millions of guns? People are starting to keep it real that gun use is getting out of hand after a deadly weekend marking 17 fatalities caused by mass shootings. How to solve this problem remains a top story for problem solvers. The key word is problem solvers. What solution can you possibly put in place for all of these guns that are out there? Guns are everywhere. This story is still developing, and that's why I made it to the top this week, folks. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the people on the front lines, the media, the journalists. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a media, the man stuck in the middle. If you want to show some support here at MF8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop by the store at 5648 Market Street, and I'll gladly shake your hand and thank you for coming in. You can buy something to support the program. Well, folks, that's it. I'll come back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.